All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our school board business meeting for Wednesday, May 18th, 2022. We'll begin with an executive session. So I call this meeting to order. Ms. Tanner, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Basine?
Here.
Campson? Here. Clanton?
Present.
Gabriel?
Present.
Jordan?
Here.
Rousen?
Here.
Martin?
Present. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Ms. Tanner, will you please read the motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, I
I'm
move
sorry, I
that we
need
move
to get
into
a motion.
executive closed session. Second.
Thank you, guys.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry.
Mr. Jordan did.
Okay. Move that members of the school board go into a closed session for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended 4, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the school board of the city of Norfolk pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A1 of the Act. The subjects of this portion of the session are the specific personnel on today's regular personnel agenda and specific candidates for appointment to the board's Special Education Advisory Committee, School Health Advisory Committee, Career and Technical Advisory Committee, and Gifted Education Advisory Committee. B, discussion or consideration of disciplinary and any other matters concerning students in the Norfolk Public Schools that would involve the disclosure of information contained in scholastic record pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A2 of the Act. The subjects of this portion of the session are the specific students on today's regular student support agenda. And C, consultation with legal counsel and a briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where discussion in open session would adversely affect the school board's negotiating or litigating posture, and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel pursuant to subsections 2.2-3711A7 and 8 of the Act. The subjects of this portion of the session are those set out above in the subsections A and B of this motion, and policies concerning the public's participation at board meetings and the restriction of firearms on real property other than schools when used by the school board.
I'm sorry, but that last part is not included in the motion. The subjects of this portion of the session are those set out in subsections A and B. The part about firearms and the policy, that is from a previous motion.
Oh, okay,
maybe
so
last
scratch
month's
that.
motion.
Oh, okay. I must have copied and pasted the wrong one.
No problem.
Okay. Okay.
So the motion would just, under C, would be for the discussion that are set out in A and B, the student support personnel, student support agenda, the personnel agenda, and the discussion of candidates for the various board advisory committees.
Do you want to reread letter C?
I can.
Clear.
Consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where discussion in open session would adversely affect the school board's negotiating or litigating posture, and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel pursuant to subsections 2.2-3711A, 7 and 8 of the Act. The subjects of this portion of the session are those set out above in subsections A and B of this motion.
Okay, it ended that last part. Okay, Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Rousen?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. All right. Thanks, everyone. Can I get a motion to come out of executive session, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we certify the executive closed session.
Second.
Thank you. And Mr. Jordan seconded it.
Yes.
Ms. Tanner, please read the resolution.
A resolution certifying an executive meeting of the school board of the city of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, whereas the school board of the city of Norfolk has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the School Board of the City of Norfolk that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be resolved that the School Board of the City of Norfolk hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the executive meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the executive meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the School Board of the City of Norfolk. Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Rousen?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Okay, thank you. We'll recess until 7 PM. All right, good evening, everyone. I call the school board business meeting for Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 to order. Ms. Tanner, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Basine? Here. Campson?
Here.
Clanton?
Present.
Gabriel?
Present.
Jordan?
Here.
Rousen?
Here.
Martin?
Here, present. Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the business agenda
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer.
as amended, because we've amended it?
Yeah, I'd just like to note the amendments. Madam Chair, that item 2.01, personnel, be moved to decision discussion agenda, and that it replace 5.04, superintendent evaluation timeline, and that we move superintendent evaluation timeline to a later date to our June work session. And what else did you have? You wanted to move something?
And then also, policy
Yeah, I'd requested that, I had a,
EBB, yes.
yeah, follow-up questions on that policy and
Instead-
asked if it would be,
Decision discussion?
yes.
Okay, and that we move policy GCBB supplementary pay from out of the consent agenda to decision discussion agenda and make that item 5.05.
Okay, anything else?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gabriel, seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Yes. I don't believe we talked about removing the superintendent evaluation timeline to a different, another date. I object to that.
Okay.
As the maker of that one, the superintendent's evaluation timeline, I honestly believe, is a work session discussion for the board and not in a formal session. And so I'm asking that it be moved to our work session in June so that we can actually have a full, free discussion around that and the timeline.
I understand and agree with you, Mr. Clanton, on that. But it's been requested now for quite some time to have dates, and so here we are at the business meeting again, and to have to not know whether we're in agreement on the process, on the dates, and all of that, to wait till June 1st now at this point seems late. So you may proceed as you wish, but I object to postponing that discussion.
Thank you. Madam Chair, a point of inquiry. Mr. Cloud, when do we have to have the superintendent's evaluation completed, statutory?
Well, it has to be done annually, so it has to be done within 1 year of the last time you did it.
Okay.
Not sure the date when the annual evaluation was finalized last year, but it has to be within 1 year as set by that.
It's not June 30th?
Yeah, and I can't remember. The requirement of the statute is that it has to be done once a year. I'm not sure if you did it by June 30th or not last year.
We did.
We did.
I think it was on the
I see
22nd.
one
No.
person shaking their head.
I don't think,
I can check that and confirm it. I don't know the date off the top of my head.
yeah, I think last year it was July, and then we finally, I think it was signed off in September, something like that.
Exactly.
Signed off in August.
Yep,
but
okay.
There it is right here.
So, all right.
Any other comments?
August 30th, 2021.
Ms. Tanner, please call the question.
Basine?
Nay.
Campson?
Yay.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Rousen?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, let's see. All right, okay, now we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Shivani Rastogi, will you please lead us?
Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers to be turned off or to vibrate during the course of this meeting. Please rise and remain standing for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
Thank you, Ms. Rastogi. Okay, and up next we have our student performance. Ms. Tanner?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Martin, Vice Chair, Mr. Clanton, school board members, Dr. Birdsong, administration, and guests. My name is Zach Rooksby, and I'm the Senior Coordinator of Music and Theater Instruction. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that Norfolk Public Schools has been designated as a 2022 Best Communities for Music Education by the National Association of Music Merchants. This designation is awarded to districts that demonstrate outstanding achievement in efforts to provide music access and education to all students. This award would not be possible without the work of our outstanding music teachers, the support of the arts and music from the Norfolk community, and the support of our school board and administration. Thank you for your continued support of music education in Norfolk Public Schools. Tonight's featured musical performance is the Norview Middle School Concert Band under the direction of Mr. Stephen Smaltz. They'll be performing Thunderbound by Sean O'Loughlin. Thank you once again for your support and enjoy the performance.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Up next, we have our superintendent's report. Dr. Birdsong, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair Martin, Vice Chairman Clanton, members of the school board, and members of our community. Welcome. Before we demonstrate or show you some of the wonderful things that are happening in our schools, I'd like you to know that this year we are hosting our graduations again in person at the Trotway Arena, and so we're very, very excited about that. I see Dr. Kimsey, she is turning cartwheels over there, and so we are extremely excited. So on January the 13th at 1 o'clock, we will be celebrating the graduates of Booker T. Washington High School, and then at 4 o'clock, the graduates of Morey High School. And the following day, on Tuesday, June the 14th, Granby High School students will be graduating, Lake Taylor High School at 4 o'clock, and then Norview High School at 7 o'clock. So come out and join the celebration. We are so very excited and so very proud of our students. They have encountered 2 years of just a lot of struggle and stress, but they've made it. They've made it, and we're very excited about that. So this evening's video captures a lot of our volunteers working within our schools. We opened our schools back to our volunteers. We were so excited about that. Our teachers were excited, our students were excited, and most importantly, our volunteers, they are excited as well. And so we appreciate their support, and you'll see some of those highlights in the video. So video team, please roll the video.
Third grade students at the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood showed off their knowledge of bridges during formal presentations to education and engineering professors and students from Old Dominion University.
This morning we're presenting our bridge designs, and it's a project-based learning activity. And they're so excited. They did research on bridges in my reading classroom. They read lots of functional text, and they put together a presentation. They surprised me. I am shocked. I can't believe the knowledge that they've gained and the knowledge that they're putting forth here today.
This Shark Tank-styled event took place in the school's new makerspace, which is an area designed specifically for STEM projects. Teams of students enjoyed talking with the impressed judges about their bridge designs and did a great job answering some tough questions.
We really got to know the guy, and he was really nice. And he said our bridge that we made was really strong. There was one flaw in our bridge. We didn't have enough time to make a ramp in one part, so we called it the boom bridge because you just fall off.
They asked what was the beams for. We said that we thought that if we did the regular ones, it would still be strong, but instead we used triangles. We used triangles for them, and then since we all like the color, the color purple, we used purple tape and wrapped around it.
The students were amazing. They understood the history of their bridge design. They could explain both the strengths and the weaknesses of their bridge and what they would do if they had more time, ideas for improving it. They could talk through the engineering design process, so it was clear they really internalized all the different aspects of the project, and I was thoroughly impressed with them.
Volunteers from Truist visited outstanding 4th and 5th grade students at Ingleside Elementary to teach them about money and financial wellness.
Pretty. All right, Jennifer, Roxanne. Hey, Roxanne.
Each representative from the bank paired up with a student and spoke with them individually about their jobs and the importance of saving and careful spending.
One. Give me an example of a one.
A one is something like some toys.
Good.
I felt honored because only 3 people in my class got to do it, so it's good to know things about money that not everyone in my class knows. You need to figure out the difference between wanting and needs so you don't spend a lot of money on things that you really don't need.
A want is something that you would want, like a new video game, new pairs of shoes. And a need is something that you need, like electricity and water and food. Because you can get a want mixed up with a need. You can buy something that you want over something that you need, and then you'll have consequences later for it.
After not having volunteers in their building for so long, these inquisitive students were grateful for this unique opportunity.
It felt amazing. It was my first time having somebody face to face, because at first I thought, all the bankers would be on the stage and we would be the ones sitting down and listening. So this experience was really amazing to me. They were very engaging in conversation. Sometimes I usually lose somebody in a conversation in the first 10 minutes, but Miss Amy really hung on to me. She asked a lot of questions and she said I did a very good job, and I really liked that.
For the first time in 3 years, Norfolk Public Schools Adapted Physical Education Department, in partnership with Special Olympics, held their 13th annual Little Feet Meet at SB Ballard Stadium. Over 450 elementary students with exceptional needs competed in various field day style events. Volunteers including the ODU police, Navy personnel, NPS parents, and ODU students assisted at each station to help make this event a success.
Just being able to learn through sport and physical activity is important as well. And, it's funny, we invite all of our speech therapists and everybody out here because they, it's fun for them, but they are learning as well. They're learning to teamwork, they're learning to get along, they're moving their bodies, they're learning about health and fitness.
Well, I think the kids love it because they get to interact with other kids and their loved ones. The parents come out here and their grandparents like me get to come out here and sharing some of the experiences they're having right now, interacting with the other students. Norfolk Public Schools done a phenomenal job, especially with these kids, with special needs kids. And I've often come into my grandson's school, and it's always been a positive experience for me.
Students at Norview Middle School got a hands-on lesson using Desmos from the senior coordinator of secondary math. Desmos is a free online calculator that's used across the state for classroom instruction and is also found on the SOL test. The goal was to get students comfortable with using this innovative calculator by going through a variety of math problems with them.
At first, they're a little hesitant because they're like, oh, it just looks like it's going to be harder or whatever. But once they start using it, they absolutely enjoy it because, number one, they get to use the technologies. It's not like any old regular calculator, okay? So they get to use the technology, and they love using technology. Then after that, once they see how easy it is to use, how easy it is to maneuver and actually get the answers that they need, and they're able to do some of the more difficult problems.
I would give it a 10 out of 10 because I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know about. I think it's pretty cool because it's easy to learn and they only have one subtract or negative sign, so I wouldn't get confused like the hand calculators. I think it would help me a tremendous amount because I've learned how to use it.
Years of hard work on the field and in the classroom culminated with a joyous affair at Granby High, as 5 student athletes signed to play sports in college. With family, friends, and teammates in attendance, these high achievers reminisced about good times and gave thanks to those who helped them reach this step.
Pretty good. I always wanted to go Division I. I think that was always been my goal, and I'm really proud to say that I've accomplished it.
Just the experience, just the more competition, better competition. And just playing at the next level. That's all I ever wanted to do was play at the next level, and I got to it.
Although they are moving on, they won't forget their time at Granby.
The teachers, they love me since my freshman year, so they have my back, and I love them. All the love.
Congrats to all.
Chair Martin, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Birdsong. A lot of exciting stuff going on. Up next, Ms. Tanner, do you have the clerk's report, please?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair. For the month of May, we recognize National Physical Fitness and Sports Month. We celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. Are all the educators in this room? Could you please stand? All educators. Let's give them a round of applause. We salute you not only just Teacher Appreciation Day, but Teacher Appreciation Week and this whole month and all the year long, too. And the National School Nurse Day was May 11th, 2022. Do we have any nurses in the room? All right. Well, let's give them a hand. And Student recognitions tonight. We have several student recognitions, and I just want to know if there are any students in the room tonight who's here to receive a recognition. I just need you to stand because there's a lot of us. Okay, well, they're not here, so if you don't mind, I'd like to get started. Are there some is there some folks in the hall? Any students in the hall? Okay, no students in the hall. All right, first, we have Emily Bieber, an 8th grader. Oh, we're not going to, because the students are here, I'm just going to read the recognitions. But we have special certificates for them. We're going to share with them in their schools. So the first one is Emily Bieber. She's an 8th grader at Academy for Discovery at Rosemont, and she was recognized for her artwork that was selected to be in the NPS Art magazine. Next, we have Ayana Askew. She was here, I think, last month. She's a Booker T. Washington High School senior, and she was recognized as a Gates Scholar recipient and for receiving scholarships from the Life Enrichment Center, a Fisk University Presidential Scholarship, Iota Phi Lambda Sorority Scholarship, Spelman College Dovie Johnson Roundtree Scholarship, Hampton Roads Community Foundation Julia Atwater Bristow Scholarship, Iota Phi Lambda National Scholarship, and congratulations to her also for being a 2022 Presidential Scholar for the Arts. And she is a valedictorian and class president and a 2021 Hampton Roads Poet Laureate Ambassador. Let's give her a round of applause. Reagan Fussell is a Blair Middle School 8th grader, received first place in the Norfolk Sister City Association Young Artist Showcase. Jada Johnson is a 3rd grader at Ghent School. She won the Guess the Eggs in the Basket contest sponsored by the Norfolk Public Library. The Ghent PTA, under leadership of President Tiffany Fegan. Is Tiffany Fegan in here today? Okay. She received recognition for the Outstanding STEM PTA Sponsored Program from the PTA, National PTA, and received a grant for $1,000. And then congratulations to Granby Elementary School 4th graders Audrey Birch, Grayson Bringham, Gideon Jones, and Declan Whitehead as the first place winners for 4th grade Battle of the Books competition. Tyler Villafort, an 11th grader, at Granby High School, received 3rd place in impromptu speaking at the Future Business Leaders of America State Leadership Conference. Granby High School 11th grader Roger Zing is recognized for receiving 3rd place in Securities and Investments at the Future Business Leaders of America State Leadership Conference. And the following Ingleside Elementary School students were recognized. Jalen Forrest received 2nd place in the prestigious Gymnastic Invitational Elite Compulsory Qualifier for All-Round Competition. And Rodney Chance was recognized as the 2021 UYFL champion in 9U football and named Defensive Player of the Game. In track, he is a 2-time district champion and national champ in the shot put. Congratulations to him. Azaria Cherry was recognized as the 2022 STEAM H essay winner awarded by the Virginia Council on Women. And Nyla Rivera Morales was recognized at the Hampton Roads Youth Volunteer of the Year Award. We have several Norfolk Technical Center recognitions. First, Nyasia Wilkerson was recognized for first place in fashion construction in the FCC LA State Competition. Jamie Brantz was recognized for first place in the category for decorated cake for the FCC LA State Competition. Jada Cephas recognized for first place in dessert platter for the FCC LA State Competition. Maybe have to have her come back and bring some desserts for us. And Conrad Maloney won 2nd place in fashion design in the FCC State Competition. And next we have Northside Middle School 8th graders Justice Butts, Peyton Icobisho, Angelique Madron Chavez, and Tessa Glover were recognized for being winners of the Spring Poetry National Contest. And Raekwon Brock, Elise Mooney, and Logan Key, their Northside Middle School 8th graders, won 2nd place for the 2021-22 Stock Market Game for the Coastal Virginia region. And to round out our recognitions for tonight, we recognize Norview High School students selected to All-State Chorus, Javion Branch for bass, Isaiah Evans for tenor, and Skylar Culp for soprano. And then a special recognition for the NJROTC team, who was recognized as a Distinguished Unit with Honors, 2nd in NJROTC Area 5 for Maryland, Virginia, DC, and Delaware. They received the NJROTC Marksmanship Team 8th in the nation at SEC and AV Air Rifle Championship, and that was in Anniston, Alabama. And the Norview NJROTC drill, academic, and athletic team is 11th in the nation at the Navy National Championship, and that was in Pensacola, Florida. And Norview NJROT novice marksmanship team came in second in Orion New Shooter League out of 71 schools nationwide. So let's give a round of applause to all of these students that are recognized. And Madam Chair, that concludes my recognitions for the honorees for tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Go ahead, Dr. Bernstein.
So, Madam Chair Martin, I'm not sure why the children aren't here today. Surely there must be a miscommunication, but we need to invite these children to the next board meeting, if that's okay.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Next on the docket, we have citizens' comments on both agenda and non-agenda items. Ms. Tanner, how many people are signed up to speak this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 27 speakers for this evening.
Okay, thank you.
That have signed up. Today's speakers have signed up for public comment before the start of today's business meeting. When your name is called, please come forward to the speaker's podium. State your name and whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or if you are employed by the district. One person is to speak at a time. If you are representing a group, state the group's name. You may ask your group members to stand in place to be recognized. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes. A timer is set with an alarm that will signify the end of your speaking time. State your position and give facts and other relevant data. Avoid saying anything that identifies students or personnel information about individual employees. Personnel, disciplinary, and confidential matters may be addressed to the school board directly via email at schoolboard@nps-k12.com. Comments should be addressed to the board and not addressed to an individual member. School board members do not respond to public comments at this time and when they are given, and any written statements or supporting materials should be given to the clerk. And so, Madam Chair, our first speaker, there you go, this evening is Cora Johnson, followed by Victor Doctor Jr.
Okay. Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Johnson, go ahead. Begin whenever you're ready.
It's on, okay. Good evening, Dr. Bernstein and school board members. My name is Cora Johnson. I work for Norfolk Public Schools. I drive the school bus. I'm here tonight because of an issue that took place and I don't feel valued by Norfolk Public Schools. It takes the parents, the students, the bus drivers, and the teachers working together to get students to and through school, pre-K through 12th grade. What do you do when you have done all that you can to resolve issues through your supervisors, etc.? What I'm about to tell you, it may be bone-chilling, but it happened to me. Injustice, defamation of character, breach of confidentiality, not being proactive instead of reacting to situations. How many times does a student or a parent have to display disrespect to a bus driver? It happened to me 5 times by one parent, and the parent is a U.S. Navy mom. She disrespected me 3 times on camera and twice off, but I complained in total 5 times. What do you do when you go to your supervisor and try to talk to them and they keep telling you about their life story? Well, I've been doing this 20, 30 years. Ain't no parent never did. We don't know what these parents gonna do. This is 2022, okay? My life is in danger to the point to where I had to go and put protective orders out on this parent. And just yesterday, to God be the glory, the judge gave her a 2-year protective order from me and from my bus route and from 100 yards from me and the whole entire bus route that I drive. So that's a little piece of justice. But you know, when you go to your supervisor and your supervisor tell you, Ms. Johnson, we gonna take care of it. Well, how they took care of the issue was they put the young man off the bus. People, the school year is over. That's not enough, and that's not justice. His mother cussed me out, called me everything, a black B-I-T-C-H, a nigger B-I-T-C-H, a racist B-I-T-C-H, each time. But you know what my supervisors told me? Ms. Johnson, we didn't hear her curse, and we didn't hear you neither. I'm like, okay, how many bus drivers are y'all short? Almost 200? What you waiting to hear me cuss for when you taught me how to be a professional? When I open that door, you take whatever come through that door. And what I mean by that is you take what come through the door and you write it up. And you pray that the videotape work. We need to get better communication on that bus because the videotapes don't work. They work sometime. It's so faulty, you can't hear what people are saying. But you're not even going to take your bus driver word for it. I told you she cussed me out. All the kids laughing at me on the bus. I'm trying to talk to y'all on the radio, telling y'all I'm about to go drop this young man back to school and let his mama pick him up. And y'all telling me no, bring him to the bus stop. That's humiliating. The kids laughing at me. The woman steady cussing me out on FaceTime, the fourth time, cussing me out on FaceTime on the bus. And my supervisor's telling me to bring him home. No, let his mama go get him.
Thank
Okay?
you, Miss.
And I'm out of work now on FMLA, and this has made the media. But I want this parent and I want Norfolk to know that Cora Johnson life matter, bus drivers' lives matter, and my black is beautiful, and my black is intelligent, and my black is gonna get justice.
Ms. Johnson, thank you.
Next, we have Victor Doctor, followed by Wilford Bellamy.
This is my son.
Good evening, Board of Directors.
Good evening.
So, what happened on April 25th? A student complained to his mother that my mom was being disrespectful and threatening him when all she did was ask him to move seats to not only ensure his safety, but the other student's safety. Now, did he make a mistake? Yeah, I can relate to him in that certain situation because when I rode the bus, I definitely was disrespectful, throwing projectiles, using profanity. So, and what did my mom do? She didn't go up there yelling and cursing. She used her common sense and addressed the matter how it was supposed to be addressed. So, all right. And the name I'm using is not her real name. All right. Miss Ashley's contemptuous attitude was displayed towards my mother on the 25th of April. Black female dog, you racist female dog. In other words, these were the choice of words that Miss Ashley decided to convey when addressing my mother. It's disheartening to know that the antagonist of this unfortunate situation is a part of the United States Navy. Faith, courage, and honor. This is what the Navy stands on, not disrespecting those we protect. My mother is a hard-working black American woman that has a plethora of accomplishments under her belt of life. For her to be publicly belittled like this is disheartening and downright disgusting. Now, does she deserve to be, I'm really nervous, I'm sorry. Does she deserve to be forgiven? Of course, we all make mistakes. But it needs to be punished. It needs to be addressed and not go swept under the rug. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And the words that she said, this will not go punished, I'm gonna walk away. And it's sad to say, but the world we live in today, if it was me or if it was her, we probably wouldn't even be here. We'd probably be on the news, in the ground, in jail, being publicly bashed on social media. But because it's her and it's her skin texture, and I'm not racist, I'm just stating facts. She can get away with stuff that me and my people can't. So this needs to not go unheard, and it needs to go punished. That's it.
Wilford Bellamy, followed by Mercedes Keller Washington.
Can you repeat the first name, please?
Wilford Bellamy, followed by Mercedes Keller Washington.
Would you mind adjusting the lectern for him, please? Does it go down any farther?
You know what? It does. It's not plugged in. Excuse me, young man.
No.
To the floor. Yeah. It's a little black button on the side. Can you show him, Rich?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Great. Good evening.
Good evening. At school, I feel very sad about what my mom has went through because, like, I think of her every day, and it doesn't feel right about how she had to be treated. If she tells that child to do something, that child should do it. I had to ride the bus just like my brother. I'm not perfect. I did bad things too. I didn't listen to the bus driver. I got rolled up a lot. I mean, things happen, but I should have done it every day. This child has told his mom numerous of times about what my mom was doing. And not everything is lies. He's telling the truth, but he's just making it to his own way. And that's not right. My mom, she cries, and I try to make her feel better. And then sometimes I cry too. Because, at school, I just, I'm in the right mood, and then, I'm just not in the right state. I just want my mom to have justice. I don't want my mom to be feeling sorry for something that is not even her fault. The woman, she should be punished, like my brother said, really, to a point to where that everybody feels safe, including my mom. My mom's life matter, and I hope y'all get that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mercedes Washington, followed by Vicky Madison.
This is my daughter, Mercedes Keller. She's in the U.S. Navy, so she's not going to speak, but we're going to stand here for her 3 minutes. And we want everybody to know that Cora Johnson life matters and Norfolk public bus drivers' lives matter. It's a lot going on them buses. The big buses need monitors. You can't see everything on these buses. And the things that you do catch and you try to write up, like for instance, kids sticking up the middle finger to pedestrians driving in cars, that is a hazard. What if that pedestrian starts shooting or something? Then what? I'm in charge of all those souls on that bus. How can I go knock on somebody's door and tell them, this happened to your child? I was driving the bus and I couldn't get back there quick enough. We need to get some monitors on these buses, okay? It's sad that this is going on in this day and time. And bus driving is short, y'all. And I'm going to tell you something, what somebody who loved me shared with me. And she told me, she said, Cora, the Holy Spirit told me, until Norfolk Public Schools do right by you, it's going to continue to be a shortage on these buses. It has nothing to do with you, okay? It is someone who is bigger than all of us, bigger than this problem, and his name is God. Okay? Until y'all get it right, it's going to be a shortage of bus drivers every day that this phone is going off. Everybody I know, their phones are going off because people are tired. They are tired of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning like I used to. Get up at 4 o'clock and get my kids ready for school. Graduating this year out of Norview, graduating out of Tanner's Creek. And then I got to go deal with all my other babies. And they know I talk about my babies all the time. You know, I just don't have kids at home. The kids on the buses, when they get on that bus, they become mine. I am just not a bus driver. I'm a mother. I'm a counselor. I listen to children. They know me by name. I know them by name. You know, and they happy to see me. And before they get off the bus, we gonna see you today. I say, yeah, I'm gonna be here. I said, I'm gonna make the earth move. I will be back at Sewell's Point. My babies at Sewell's Point, Pocahontas, the military drop-off, those kids are so loving and so respectful. My babies at Sherwood Forest Elementary, I miss y'all so much. You know, I miss the kids getting on the bus and giving me flowers at the stop. They literally go pick it up out of the ground and say, here, Miss Johnson. And I'm like, thank you. I mean, it's like, I know I got the middle school kids. They get on the bus and they got their own language. I get that. I let these babies talk, but I tell them if it come to the windshield and pop me in the head, I'm going to ask you to stop. Okay, I need everybody to put a bubble in your mouth right now until we get to your bus stop. Because some of the language should not be on the bus. But with the high school kids, I'm going to say this. If we can't ride the bus under the influence, how do the high school kids get on the bus under the influence and tell other kids to get the MF up out of my seat? Don't nobody have no assigned seats. Y'all don't know what we going through on these buses. But know this, Cora Johnson life matter, bus drivers' lives matter. Until Norfolk Public School gets something together, it's going to continue to be a bus shortage, and it has nothing to do with me. It has something to do with that man up there, and his name is God.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Vicky Madison, followed by Charlotte Covington.
Good evening. You can begin when you're ready.
All right. Good evening, school board members and Dr. Birdsong. My name is Vicki Madison. I do not have a child in Norfolk Public Schools. I am the first vice president of the Norfolk Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I am here speaking on behalf of my chapter president, Ms. Cynthia Calhoun, who could not be here with us tonight. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is an organization of college-educated women committed to the constructive development of its members and public service with a primary focus on the Black community. It was founded in 1913 on the campus of Howard University as a private, not-for-profit organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support through established programs in communities throughout the world. Norfolk Alumni, formerly known as Mu Sigma, was the first alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta in the state of Virginia. It was established in 1929. Our sorority is dedicated to the ideals of sisterhood, scholarship, and public service. We have proudly served the Norfolk community for 91 years. On behalf of my chapter president, Cynthia Calhoun, and our chapter members, can you stand? We are so grateful that you have allowed us to be here tonight as a part of our social action agenda and in observance of our May Week activities. We deeply appreciate and respect your service to our school district, and we stand ready and committed to continue critical projects and programming that make a difference in the lives of the students and staff of Norfolk Public Schools. Be seated. I'm going to end there, but our next speaker from Norfolk Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta is our Social Action Chair, and she will be sharing additional information about our impact in the city of Norfolk and Norfolk Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Birdsong and school board members. My name is Shalette Covington, and I have a daughter who is a graduate of Granby High School. I'm the chair of the Social Action Committee of Norfolk Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. I'm here to share information about our organization's commitment to educational excellence. May Week is a national program of Delta Sigma Theta, and its purpose is to emphasize the importance of higher education, especially for Black women. A week in May is set aside for programs highlighting academic and professional achievement. Annually, our chapter recognizes the efforts of community leaders and students attending the 5 Norfolk Public High Schools who have worked to improve themselves and their community. This is a brief overview of the few ongoing programs that we have. Our youth programs consist of the Dr. Betty Shabazz Delta Academy, the Dr. Jean L. Noble Delta Gems, and Embody, which are programs for young ladies and young men that are designed to provide academic enrichment, exposure to STEM opportunities, enhance conflict resolution skills, and to develop socially aware servant leaders of the future. The Mildred Dudley Peters Scholarship is named in honor of the late Mildred Dudley Peters, who was a devoted member of Norfolk Alumni Chapter and was the first African-American supervisor for Negro schools in Norfolk Public Schools. Each year, we award a $5,000 scholarship in her honor to a qualifying high school senior who plans to attend an HBCU. This year, we will award 2 $5,000 scholarships. The recipients are Ms. Brittany Perkins from Norview High School and Ms. Gabrielle Wynn from Mooring High School. We will also award the Grace Branchon Perkins Award for Student Community Service to Jaden Barrett of Booker T. Washington High School. The Delta Arts in the Schools program is an ongoing partnership with the Virginia Symphony Orchestra. I'm a little nervous. It provides learning opportunities through the musical learning link to Ruffner Academy, Chesterfield Academy, Coleman Place, Tidewater Park, and PB Young Elementary Schools. This school year, we have adopted Chesterfield Academy and have provided resources and support to staff and students by providing books, uniforms, and staff care packages. Over the last year, we have donated over 1,500 books to Chesterfield Academy, Tidewater Park Elementary, and PB Young Senior Elementary Schools. The Norfolk Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated remains focused on creating programming and providing resources that make a positive impact on our community. We thank each one of you for your service and commitment to the education of our city's most valuable asset, our youth. We stand ready to collaborate and to build meaningful partnerships in support of robust student academic learning and success so that Norfolk Public Schools continues to be the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community. Thank you.
Next, we have Shelby Patmeyer, followed by James Parker.
Good evening, Dr. Birdsong and Dr. Martin and members of the school board. My name is Shelby Petmeyer, and I'm a citizen of Norfolk, an employee of Norfolk Public Schools, the collective bargaining chair of the Education Association of Norfolk, and I'm a previous board member of the Pennsylvania State Education Association Board of Directors. I'm here today to ask you to support collective bargaining with EAN. Collective bargaining gives us a seat at the table to discuss issues that directly affect educators and education support professionals. We provide firsthand experience from the front lines of our school division. We know the intricate details of what is best for our community. Our knowledge of the collective bargaining process is thorough. We have established relationships with other locals in Virginia, including Richmond, and peers across the country, including Pennsylvania. We have strong ties to the National Education Association. Through these connections, we've gained valuable insight from proven examples of successful collective bargaining. We are not just the members of Norfolk. We have support from 60,000 members across the state of Virginia and 3 million NEA members nationally. Our partnership would benefit the educators, education support professionals, students, and community members of Norfolk Public Schools. Collective bargaining with EAN is a win for everyone. We appreciate your consideration, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Parker, followed by Mariana White.
Good evening, school board, Dr. Birdsong and Dr. Martin. My name is James Parker. I am employed with Norfolk Public Schools at Chesterfield Academy. I serve as the Vice President of the Education Association of Norfolk. Therefore, I'm part of the Elizabeth River Uniserve with Chesapeake and serve as part of the District O with Virginia Beach, Accomack, Northampton. I'm affiliated with the Virginia Education Association, the only teacher union with the state level as well as the National Education Association, the largest union in the United States. I spent the better part of the past 2 years saying goodbye to many of our employees, my friends. They were stating that they were leaving Norfolk Public Schools. They didn't want to, but they had to. But for the sake of their own homes and families, and eventually retirement, the living wage just wasn't here. They couldn't pay their bills as other districts around us were raising the wages and providing the steps. Norfolk was not. The Virginia Education Association, our Red for Ed union brothers and sisters, represent over 133 districts across the state of Virginia at nearly 60,000 teachers and staff members. Our research has shown us that Norfolk does not stand alone with these many issues the pandemic has forced upon us. Many districts throughout the state have the same issues, but what our surrounding districts are doing are providing at least 10% raise, at least a 10% raise. Please follow suit. And going forward with our state efforts already, their way for statewide collective bargaining. We hope you support the Education Association of Norfolk. Thank you for all that you have done, and please allow us to stand tall with our sister unions with a fair raise closer to living wage. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.
Is Mary Anna White here? Okay, awesome.
Dear Honorable Superintendent Birdsong and honorable members of the school board, I'm Mariana White, a teacher at Granby High School and a member of the EAN. We are, as they pointed out, an affiliate with VEA and with the NEA on the national level. Please give our staff members a 10% raise with the $10 million that you have received from the City Council, the additional funds. If you ask for that amount next year, they'll give it to you because they need us. We need to be able to compete with the surrounding cities, which are giving that 10% raise, so that many of our talented people won't leave. People will feel appreciated. If the $10 million won't cover that additional amount from 5.8 up, make it 9%, so that we see that you really are serious about us. The staff and the families in the community need to feel supported. Please continue the special programs that give a human touch to each school. Please strive for every dollar of grant money that you can get so that we can have stronger music, art, world language, and sports programs in underfunded schools. These arts and sports programs help the kids process their emotions and develop socially. Strong fundamentals in reading, writing, and math, of course, are essential. Thank you for all that you do, all the hours you put into this. Ongoing outreach to all segments of our community is essential to rebuilding after post-COVID. Good luck. Please don't let our talent leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Transcendia Jackson-Stevens. And I hope I said it right. Okay, it's close.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Birdsong, Chair Dr. Martin, and all members of the School Board of the City of Norfolk. My name is Transcendia Jackson-Stevens. I'm employed with Norfolk Public Schools at Southside STEM Academy at Campus Stella, and I serve as the Political Action Committee Chair for the Education Association of Norfolk. Additionally, I am part of the Elizabeth River UniServe with Chesapeake and serve as part of District O with Virginia Beach, Accomack, and Northampton. We at Norfolk Public Schools are so far behind on our wages, our steps, and need some catching up, at least 10% as a starting point. We have learned in collaboration with our sister unions that many in one city and live in another. A higher percentage live in this city, Norfolk. Their children go to our schools and they vote in this city, yet they work in another district because the pay is better. How are we going to attract new hires when our own citizens go elsewhere for employment? I know the argument is that Norfolk just doesn't have the tax base. However, other cities are in the same predicament, and they are going back and prioritizing within their cities and revisiting their budgets. Teacher and staff salaries must be the priority. At least 10% clear, no hidden percentages being taken to cover other expenses. With the redistricting of many areas, our Political Action Committee will be working much closer together to help support candidates who support public education. We are looking forward to your support in our bid for collective bargaining so we can be at the table on these priorities with you and doing what is best for our city, our schools, and communities, which we all love. Thank you for all you have done for the Education Association of Norfolk thus far. We are appreciative and want to continue our collaborative and respectful relationship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry LeMasters, followed by Heather Sipe.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Birdsong, Chair Dr. Martin, and all the members of the school board for the City of Norfolk. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Larry LeMasters. I am employed by Suffolk Public Schools as well as a delegate with the Suffolk Education Association. I've been a member of the association for over 17 years. I serve as a delegate under the District N with the Virginia Education Association, which includes Chesapeake and Portsmouth. I will also be attending the National Teacher Association Convention as a delegate in Chicago this July. My children attended Chesapeake Public Schools. My grandchildren attended Virginia Beach Public Schools. Therefore, I am truly invested in public education throughout the district. I am an advocate for our children and an advocate for our teachers and staff. At our last state assembly with the Virginia Education Association, we were made aware that Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Hampton, Portsmouth, and Suffolk are all providing significant raises for their given they were given in previous years. My understanding is that Norfolk's proposed raise came in much lower, and there was a call for action to go before the Norfolk City Council to ask them to reject the school budget and reconfigure for a higher raise. With collective bargaining, these issues can and will be handled smarter, quicker, and much more effectively, because the Virginia Education Association already has the knowledge at its fingertips. With the local VEA in each city of Virginia, the state will be guiding all their locals effectively, particularly since Richmond Education Association has already started collective bargaining. Ladies and gentlemen, it has begun. Please support your teachers and staff members and provide them with the raise in accordance with the surrounding cities, and please support the Education Association of Norfolk in their bid for collective bargaining, because Suffolk stands with the Education Association of Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heather Sipe, followed by Gordon Jones.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Birdsong, Chair Dr. Martin, and all members of the school board for the city of Norfolk. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Heather Sipe. I am a resident of Norfolk with children in NPS. I teach at Ocean Lakes High School in Virginia Beach, and I serve as the treasurer of the Virginia Beach Education Association. We serve under District O with the Virginia Education Association, which includes Norfolk, Northampton, and Accomack counties. Students' learning conditions are directly affected by educators' working conditions. Collective bargaining affords teachers and educational support professionals a seat at the table where they can better express what they need to be supported as professionals and outline more appropriate expectations and demands regarding class sizes, planning time for teachers with multiple contents or content levels, caseloads of special needs students, and numerous other contractual obligations. Our students deserve highly qualified, appropriately supported educators. I'll reiterate, students' learning conditions are directly affected by educators' working conditions. The Virginia Education Association, which is our state affiliate of the National Education Association, is working tirelessly with locals throughout our state to achieve collective bargaining and contract negotiations. Richmond Education Association has already attained collective bargaining. Prince William Education Association verified a majority of union authorization cards last week. Several other associations, such as Henrico, Fairfax, York, Albemarle, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, and Virginia Beach Education Associations, just to name a few, are working diligently to achieve collective bargaining in their districts. Soon, districts statewide will have achieved collective bargaining, giving educators' voices strength and purpose and affording them the opportunity to better serve our students' needs. On behalf of the Virginia Beach Education Association, I am honored to publicly state that we stand with the Education Association of Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gordon James, followed by Amanda Lambert. Gordon Jones, excuse me, followed by Amanda Lambert. Is Gordon Jones, he's not here? Okay. You're Amanda Lambert? Okay.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Birdsong, Chair Dr. Martin, and all members of the school board for the city of Norfolk. Thank you for allowing me the pleasure of speaking this evening. My name is Amanda Lambert. I am a Norfolk resident, but I teach at Oscar Smith High School in Chesapeake. I am also the treasurer-elect of the Chesapeake Education Association, as well as the vice chair of the Political Action Committee. I serve under District N with the Virginia Education Association, which includes Suffolk and Portsmouth. While society has always asked a lot of its educators, the last 2 years have stretched the profession thin, with teachers and other education professionals consistently going above and beyond to do more with less, while the profession as a whole is caught in a political crossfire. converting traditional lessons to digital format, hybrid learning, covering classes for sick peers, and other expectations that are levied from above, often without any discussion or expectation of adequate compensation, have pushed many to the breaking point, creating a mass exodus from what is both a profession and a calling to many. With collective bargaining, employees are given the chance to express what is and what isn't reasonable in terms of expectations, which leads to better work performance, increased employee retention, and a better quality education for the students, which is everyone's goal. As a former Norfolk Public Schools employee, I have seen for myself the hard work and passion your employees invest in NPS students on a daily basis, and they are most deserving of the benefits that come with negotiating the terms and expectations of their contracts. What has begun with the Richmond Education Association attaining collective bargaining under the guidance of the VEA will soon be statewide. This is why, on behalf of the Chesapeake Education Association, I am honored to publicly state that we stand with the Education Association of Norfolk. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jeff Bernstein, followed by Helen Pryor.
Good evening, Chair Martin, Vice Chair Clanton, staff, school board members. I want to thank you first for allowing me to speak. My name is Jeff Bernstein. I am the UNISERV Director for the Education Association of Norfolk. I'm here to talk a little bit about, we've heard from several teachers. EAN not only represents teachers, we represent ESPs, which is Education Support Professionals, classified employees. You'll often hear me say educators, and Ms. Johnson, I think she's already gone, but said it probably best. What she didn't say really is if you heard, she educates those folks on that bus. She is an educator on that bus. Those school children admire her just like she does, like they do their own teachers. ESPs, Education Support Professionals, deserve a big raise, a better raise. I know summer school's coming and often their pay is subtracted a little bit. It's less than what they make during the school year. These folks need to be compensated accordingly. They're valuable, they are educators, and they need to be treated as such. Thank you. Y'all good night.
Thank you.
Helen Pryor, followed by Philip Hawkins Jr.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Birdsong, Chair Dr. Martin, and all members of the school board for the City of Norfolk. Always grateful for these opportunities provided to speak with all of you, whether it's in a public forum, in our Meet or Confers, or any other opportunity that's made available. I am Helen Pryor, and I'm the president of the Education Association of Norfolk. I am also on the Elizabeth River UNISERV and serve on the board of the Virginia State District O. I'm on my 15th year with Norfolk Public Schools. I'm a gifted resource teacher at Chesterfield Elementary Academy, and I'm a peer to these wonderful Virginia Education Association representatives. We've all come before you representing various divisions. Cities around us, many are providing better incentives. They're wooing away our teachers and our classified staff. We're losing bus drivers, as Ms. Kaur's story is evident. Our bus attendants are also very disheartened. They feel unnoticed and underappreciated. And year after year, we get on this cycle and we keep sliding back, but we want to slide forward. Many of these issues can be avoided in the future through collective bargaining. We already have a state initiative. We already got it in Richmond. They are showing us the way. The Richmond School Board voted overwhelmingly to approve the resolution allowing teachers and other school staff to bargain. Why? Because this is not a radical idea. It is the voice of how contracts are formed and ratified. So we are asking the same. Now, therefore, we ask it be resolved that the Norfolk Public Schools Board hereby recognizes the right of school employees to freely organize, form, join, assist, and participate with the Virginia Education Association and all its local affiliates, to collectively bargain with respect to any matter relating to wages, hours, benefits, safety, and other terms and conditions of employment as may be defined by this resolution, and to engage in this with mutual aid, protection, and respect. We look forward to this resolution between us. Please reconsider the wage rates unencumbered with the interest from the insurance and the health premiums. And we look forward to our continued collaboration. We always have, because the Virginia Education Association, done right, will stand with Norfolk Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Philip Hawkins Jr., followed by Kiana Hinton.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Dr. Martin, Vice Chair, Mr. Clanton, members of the Norfolk School Board, our wonderful Superintendent, Dr. Birdsong, and members of Norfolk Public Schools in the Norfolk community. My name is Philip Hawkins, Jr., and I am a lifelong resident of the city of Norfolk. I'm a proud graduate of Norfolk Public Schools, Norview High School. I'm also a graduate of the Norfolk State University, and I'm a proud educator and administrator, first-year administrator here in Norfolk Public Schools. So I want to thank you all for supporting the schools, but it's not over. We know the pandemic is still with us, and we need to recognize that gravity of that reality that we now live in. Our schools have been forever changed by COVID-19. They will never go back to 2019. Let's face that reality, but let's move forward with determination and courage and make the best decisions that will support our students, our staff, and when I say staff, at the school level, but across the entire district. All employee groups matter. Administrators matter, leadership matters, because we have to make decisions that are tough. But we need to make the right decisions when we ask our conscience, did we really do the right thing? This is a time now that's gonna matter for years to come, because if we don't make the right decision with wages and salaries, we will not have a workforce next year. I'm telling you that right now. We have a job fair tomorrow at Southside STEM Academy, and we will be there tomorrow night after working all day to recruit and retain our highly qualified staff. But we cannot start just with the beginning of our early career educators. We must look at those on the broad end of the spectrum that have served this district and city for many years. We need to put something in place for them. Let's correct the steps. I'm a product of the step compression as an educator. Had I been on my right step now, I would be at a competitive salary and wage that would allow me to earn more money towards my retirement. That's the predicament many employees are facing. We are in that stage. Those who are 20 or plus years of service to Norfolk Public Schools, we need to show them we care. They have stood in the gap during this tough time of virtual learning, hybrid learning, COVID protocols, everything, you name it. You know, because you have told us we had to do this. These were things that were brought upon us, not to your fault or any of ours, but we have to live with it, but we can make it better. And I am confident that you all are going to make the right decision. Let's give our teachers and staff 10% raise. So when we look at those contracts in a few weeks, they're going to be signed, not returned, okay? Because I know how the process works. And we are losing teachers. We are losing custodians. We're losing bus drivers. I'm right there. Every day we get that memo. Which buses are not coming? We're going to be late or not at all. So please help us out. Thank you so much. I do stand with the unions. Resolution for collective bargaining for all employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kiana Hinton.
Good evening, Dr. Birdsong, Dr. Martin, and members of the school board. My name is Kiana Hinton. I'm a product of Norfolk Public Schools, member of the Norfolk Federation of Teachers, and currently a special education teacher in the district. Since there's no collective bargaining and the HR is biased, I've been forced to address a building issue inside of this public forum tonight. For the past 2 years, I've been harassed by another colleague in my building. I've taken the proper precautions and followed the chain of command to notify my building administrators, both in writing and face-to-face. Although I've taken the proper precautions, nothing was done to rectify the situation since the administrators are in a high school-like crew with this colleague. The colleague has continued to display behaviors that have made my experience in this building both hostile and uncomfortable. Incidents would build up from the 2020 school year into the 2020 school year, as recently as March, where I had the displeasure of overhearing one of my administrators conspiring outside of a window with the same person whom I've had repeated incidents with, the same person who she admitted several times is in fact harassing me, or she calls it workplace harassment. My administrator would make false and ultimately defamatory statements to this colleague about me, even stating she was going to contact her boss so she could do something to me, which is indeed a threat. Additionally, she would undermine me by making statements about my temperament and days of leave from work. I would file a complaint with HR, and ironically, my administrator would be allowed to submit retirement in the middle of the investigation. And in true NPS fashion, my claim was unfounded, but there was inculpatory evidence. My administrator has been allowed to get a slap on the wrist and accept no accountability for behavior that has become detrimental to the success of students, teachers in the building, myself, and NPS as a whole. Both of my administrators display and participate in behaviors that go against the policies listed in the NPS handbook and the EEOC. Last year, following repeated incidents, I reached out to the executive director. Your executive director has yet to return my call or email to this day. This year, following the closure of the investigation, I'm told by the executive director it would be inappropriate to move me. When asked for clarity, there was no response. I followed the protocol to protect myself, and instead of taking action, I've been ignored, dismissed, and even had an attempted assassination of my character by this district. This is yet another example of how NPS fails to protect its teachers from the disrespect that administrators and leaders are often allowed to display with their titles. Collective bargaining would have afforded these working conditions to be rectified. Item number 5 of the Drive for 5 states that the division would be more intentional in efforts to foster a division-wide culture of caring. Where the administrators in my building didn't care, HR didn't care, your investigator didn't care, and your executive director didn't care. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Tony Johnson, followed by Dita Weaver.
Good evening, Dr. Birdsong, Dr. Adele Martin, school board members. My name is Tony Johnson. I come to pose a question to you all, and my question is, why? My question is, why? I'm holding up two completely different pay scales. This pay scale was written in July. This pay scale is online. This pay scale is in the MOU. It's included in the MOU. This pay scale, written in July, not online, not in the MOU, not in the handbook. It's not accessible to teachers. They can't get their hand on it. They don't know what's coming. I'm going to pose this question again, and I'm through. Why? Why? Thank you.
Dita Weaver. Dita Weaver. Miss Weaver, she's not here. Melissa Garman, followed by Sharonda Conyers. Take one and pass this down. Pass it down.
Hi, we're back. thinking we may have confused everyone recently because it appears we're using the wrong language. Silly us. Y'all are calling step progression salary credit now. I mean, it's right there in that internal NPS document that I just submitted. A document that is not publicly available or incorporated into the 2021-2022 NPS Salaries and Wages Manual. The document is entitled Operation of the Teacher Salary Scale. And if you're unfamiliar with the document or its origin, you may each look at the date of issue. Wait, there's no date at the top or the bottom. That's okay, just check the person who issued it. Let's look at that signature. Wait, no signature. Just a footer that identifies it came from the Office of Human Resources. The Navy Chief Yeoman in me wants to ask, what organization publishes undated and unsigned documents? I mean, how do we trace their origin? But maybe that's something for the school board to ask. Why are documents created that affect pay, neither dated nor signed? Is that a good business practice? Not by Navy standards, but for the sake of time, I'll move on. The document clearly states it became effective July 1st, 2021, and is not retroactive. The document addresses salary credits for new hires, rehires, and military service. It specifies salary credits for industrial and trade teachers and classified employees, but it doesn't specify what changed to make it necessary. If the document is not retroactive, then clearly a previous operational practice existed, or is that just too logical an assumption? NFT has requested copies of previous versions. We are still waiting for those. But I'm sure it's difficult to find records that are undated and unsigned. The fact this document isn't retroactive or published is evidence that NPS has no wish to be transparent with its employees about its pay practices. And that lack of transparency includes NFT. This document was not presented to our NFT president at the time our MOU was signed in August. Was it issued before or after the fact? The truth is neither is a good answer. We weren't transparent with that. You weren't transparent with us. Well, 50 copies of that were distributed today and more will be sent out via mass email. Every employee in NPS will soon have a copy of that internal document. New hires will see how they're going to be compressed in forthcoming years. Because one thing is missing from it. It wasn't labeled confidential.
Sharonda Conyers, followed by Courtney Skinner.
Good evening, Dr. Birdsong, Dr. Martin, and members of the board. My name is Sharonda Conyers, and I'm a teacher with Norfolk Public Schools, as well as a citizen. I convinced my husband to even move here against his will, just because I wanted to have more, to be more in contact with those who are in the city with which I teach. I'm here standing before you just simply because I have questions regarding my own pay, which I know other employees have as well. As my colleague so eloquently presented, we have no idea where this came from. This mystery pay scale. Then we have the one that is published online. These two documents do not match as far as our steps, and that brings me to my questions. I am in my 9th year at Norfolk Public Schools. I began in I began on January 6, 2014, after I graduated from the Norfolk State University. And that would have been my first year, what put me at step 1. As the MOU clearly states, that any employee that begins before the first day of the second semester, they're credited their entire first year. I have yet to be credited that year. I also, according to this document, which was sent to me by payroll, I was on step 1 for 4 years. 4 years. I did not make it to step 2 until my 2017-2018 school year, which then puts me now in year 9 only on step 6. No one has ever explained to me why this is the case. Just this year alone, that puts me back more than $3,000 in my salary, just this year. So if we look at each step that I'm behind for every year that I've worked in this wonderful city, that's a lot of money that I don't have and did not have and should have. So my question just is why? Why am I only on step 6? What do the steps mean? What are the steps equated to? Where is any of this in writing so any of us can strive for higher steps if that is a possibility? Or is it commiserate to our years of experience? And if that is the case, again, why am I on 6 when I should be on 9? Thank you.
Courtney Skinner.
Good evening to school board members. My name is Courtney Skinner, field representative with the Norfolk Federation of Teachers, and tonight I am here to inform you on an encounter that I had with 2 NPS school administrators at Sewell's Point, Dr. Walton and Mr. Seymour. While in a meeting upon request by a member, I was told by Dr. Walton I do not need to acknowledge her. She does not work for Norfolk Public Schools. Before the meeting had even started, I must say this was beyond disrespectful, discourteous, and unprofessional coming from a principal who is considered a leader in the school. In addition to the direct disrespect to me, this comment implies that Dr. Walton has no respect for Norfolk Federation of Teachers, a body of workers who have fought and advocated for NPS employees' rights since the 1980s. To make matters worse, Mr. Seymour, assistant principal at Sewell's Point, tells our member, quote, "So you aren't going to sell your soul for the children you teach?" As this member was expressing her frustration about needing support and asking admin to advocate for teachers because they are burnt out with the workload. And he tells her, "So you're not going to sell your soul." This, again, is beyond unprofessional, and it goes against the NPS educational philosophy, goals, and objective, which is all outlined in the employee handbook constructed by you all. We, NFT and NPS, we should have a harmonious and balanced relationship, especially in circumstances where our presence is requested, but with this interaction, that seems to be non-existent. Clearly, NPS administrators chooses to not treat all members of the school community equitably with the highest degree of respect, as this again is outlined in the employee handbook constructed by you. I want to stress the fact to every school board member here tonight that the Norfolk Federation of Teachers, we will continue to fight, we will continue to voice our opinions, we will continue to show up, we will continue to unionize, and we will continue to build our members' collective strength, and we will be acknowledged. Thank you.
Next, we have Thomas Calhoun.
Once again, we see we have these principals y'all bring in here that don't read the MOU. He has no idea what it says on the teacher rights section of the MOU, because he thinks that the teachers at Sewell's Point don't get representation. And that day they didn't, because of the way him and Seymour acted. I don't know where y'all find these people. You brought in the guy, Richard Boland, and wherever you found him, he wanted the teacher to do weekly lesson plans for recess. Weekly lesson plans. I think y'all found him in Chesapeake. He gone now. For some reason, he left after about 4 months. Now we got Walton and Seymour over at Sewell's Point. Walton says he don't have to talk to us because we won't work for NPS. Duh. He been here a year. He just figuring that out. He was disrespectful, combative. And I called him. I asked him. He said, "And what is your problem?" So the question is not him. The question is where he get it from. Did he get it from here? Executive director. Why does he feel like he don't have to recognize us? Why does Seymour think we should sell our soul What would Seymour sell his soul for? Where y'all find these people? Tell you what we're gonna do. I'm gonna come here, since we can't represent them in the schools. Every time you open up, we're gonna talk about Sewell's Point, since we can't talk to Walton and Seymour wants us to sell our souls. We'll come here. Since he don't recognize us, that's fine, I don't care. I'll come here. We go there every week. I'm going in there every week. I'm talking to all the members. Let's start. And when they go into meetings with Walton and Seymour, they're not even there. Several members told me this. I was there last week. That whatever the leadership team says, that's it. They don't even count. And from this meeting, this reaction we got, I believe them. He doesn't even think they get representation. Where y'all find this guy? We're going to represent him. We're going to come here. Everything they tell us at Sewell's Point, I'm going to come here and say it here, since we can't talk to Walton and Seymour in the school. Because some kind of way, I don't know how, he got the idea he don't have to talk to us. I don't know where he got it from. He ain't got to talk. I'm going to come talk to y'all. Every single month y'all open up, we're going to have Sewell's Point Hour, since we can't represent our members in the schools. And that's why we need collective bargaining. You can't decide.
Next, we have LaQuetta Mackey, followed by Thomas Harris.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is LaQuetta Mackey. I'm the Executive Vice President for the Norfolk Federation of Teachers. I have 28 years with only Norfolk Public Schools. I served as a third grade teacher at Suburban Park for 14 years and the remaining 14 years to date as a math specialist. I'm currently split between St. Helena and P.B. Young Elementary as their math specialist. I stand before you again today because I am unhappy with the way you are treating your veteran teachers as myself and staff of NPS. This is not just an NFT, EAN, or teachers issue. We, meaning teachers, teachers' assistants, administrators, and classified staff, are all affected by your lack of urgency in putting us on our right steps. This is an NPS matter. It is evident that most of you don't care about us veteran teachers and staff of NPS. I say this because, one, most of you voted for us to get a bonus and not put us on our correct steps. Two, you were giving $133 million from the American Rescue Plan. The money was sent to retain teachers, and you are using it on everything else but retaining the staff that has been dedicated and loyal to NPS. All you needed to do was take $25 million of that to put us on our correct steps. Had you cared, you would have done that and still had $108 million. Simple math. 3, you had $20 million in access. Yes, you used $11.7 million to give us a bonus in April, but that's not enough. What about the $8.3 million left from that? Perhaps if you cared enough, you could have paid the taxes. Had that been done, maybe we would have felt that it was truly a bonus instead of just putting gas in our cars to get to and from work. 4, you put aside $2 million next year to do another study that will take another 4 years. That is a complete waste of time because the study was already done by Siegel Waters, in which you hired and paid for in 2016. Sounds like procrastination to me. That will be a total of 10 years of wasted time. We don't need a CPA to figure that out. All you need is good math. 5, you are sending emails to teachers that were hired in 2021 and 22, asking them to stay and giving them $2,500 as a bonus, and in the hard-to-staff schools, $5,000. Teachers that are separated from Norfolk Public Schools for over a year are able to come back and get hired, and they're able to be put on the current status of our steps. What about putting all of us on our right steps? What about putting us on our current rates? We deserve it. I don't know how you sleep at night with a clear conscience. I say all this to say the way you are treating us is a travesty and a crime. You continue to ignore your faithful and dedicated staff of NPS that train these new hirees. We are tired, we are fed up, overworked, and underpaid. You still have time to fix this before you lose many of your staff to other districts. You think there's a bus shortage and teacher shortage now? If you don't fix this, there will be an even greater problem next year. I don't see anybody breaking the doors down at job fairs. I suggest you pay us to retain us, or you will give many of us no choice to leave Norfolk Public Schools behind. I thank you for your time.
We have Thomas Harris, followed by Neil George.
Good evening, members of the Norfolk City School Board. My name is Thomas Harris, and I'm a retiree of Jaycox Elementary of 19 years. I'm a 60-year resident of Lambert's Point community. Over the years, I have seen a lot of historical schools be torn down and not no landmark. For example, John T. West, LeCarry, and Stewart Early Child Care, J.J. Smallwood. I'm here to talk about Madison School. Madison Career Center turned 100 years old 3 years ago. No one said anything about it. But I talked with the principal about it, and there should be a celebration with the landmark, make it historical. Lambert's Point is one of the historical communities in the city of Norfolk next to Huntersville and Old Huntersville. Let's bring these schools out. Now, we have partnered with Norfolk Southern Railroad. They want to give us a grant to fix up the playground area and the grounds around Madison. The community is for it. I have talked with a lot of the students that went there. They are for it. If you could do anything with Madison School, let's turn it into a senior housing with a community room and everything in it, and have the playground area for the kids to play. A lot of people come back home each and every year for the Lambert's Point reunion, and we use that grant, and we have a good time. I know because I have been the president of it for the last 20 years. Now, we want to make it Norfolk Southern and other communities around us be a partner of making Madison School a historical site. The church across the street from it, we already made that a historical site, Old Norfolk United Methodist Church. And Norfolk Southern is willing to be a part of that too. I thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, y'all. Hey, I am really happy to see you again. I had the chance, I'm Neil George. I teach at Maury. I'm one of your district autism inclusion teachers, and I love what I do. I really do. I'm the father of 2 graduates from Maury. Talked with you about the garden club in Lindenwood and, oh yeah, the Wi-Fi in my room. I want to thank you that the very next day we had an engineer in my room, took care of it immediately. I want to thank Dr. Cataldo for that. That's service, and I appreciate that. You made a vote on Lindenwood. It shows that y'all listen to what is being said here, you know, that we're not just getting up and talking, but y'all are listening and making decisions. So I appreciate y'all for doing that, and because again, tonight, there's a lot going on. You have some things to think about. All right, getting back to my situation, that garden over at Lindenwood is beautiful. I hope you've had the chance to go over and see it. It's incredible. What they've done along the shoreline there, that's affecting the entire world because the water that goes back and forth there, you know, the fact that they're preserving it, keeping it clean, it's having an impact on the entire world. Norfolk Public Schools is the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community, okay? Got it. We should be having the same kind of impact in this world. I was hired 15 years ago. I was doing some math. I think she may have gone, but I was thinking 2,700, in 20 days, it'll be 2,700 teaching days ago. It was a while. When I walked into Maury, there's this big poster. It said Broad. I didn't know what Broad Award was. You know, the Broad Prize meant nothing, and I learned later it was Broad, and I learned later that it's an excellent award. I haven't heard about that for 2,500 days. We've got 4 major universities in this area. And the reason why I bring that up is because I've gone through accreditation a number of times. People have come in and said, hey, you're doing these great things, wonderful. You know, I really like what you're doing about this and that. But nobody has ever tested to see whether I'm actually truly making a difference. You know, we've got 4 universities here. Somebody could be appointed, maybe there is somebody, I'm just not aware. But again, I'm told that I'm doing a good job, and I appreciate the compliment. Ms. Berg is phenomenal. You know, I've got that. You know, I've got a lot of support. What I don't know is whether or not I'm truly making a difference. You know, again, we've got 4 great universities here. The Norfolk State University has been represented several times. We could have somebody coming in and actually studying whether or not I truly do make a difference, whether all of the teachers are making a difference, how we are, so that we could take that and that we could be, once again, not only the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community, but we could be taking that educational knowledge and sharing it all across this world. And I really want to encourage you to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Martin, this concludes our speakers for this evening, and I had to make some revisions and adjustments, so we had 24 speakers tonight as opposed to 27.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Dr. Rowson. Ms. Tanner, please call the question.
Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Rowson?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Okay, up next we have our monthly financial report with Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Martin, Vice Chair Clanton, Dr. Birdsong, members of the school board. This evening I'll review the monthly financial reports for April. The April report covers 10 months for the fiscal year that started July 1st last year. During the period, we collected $271.4 million of general fund revenues. This is 76.5% of our budget. Collections during the same period over the previous 2 years range between 76.8% and 78.2%. So we're approximately the same place. Page 3 includes 2 graphs. One is for revenue, the top, and the other one is for spending for each month of the year. The graphs represent monthly revenue and spending for the current and 2 previous years. You can see the impact of the employee bonus and 3rd pay period during April, which pushed expenditures higher in the last month. The monthly budget trend appears in the green background. On page 4 of the highlights, we provide a graph of revenue and spending for the current fiscal year. By the end of April, we had spent or encumbered $276.7 million, or 78% of our budget. Again, the revenues were $271.4 million through April. During the previous 2 years, spending for the same period ranged between 75.8% and 77.2%. So our spending is just slightly above the previous 2 years. More detailed information is available starting on page 5. Please note that our school nutrition operations is in positive territory since students attended school all year this year. If you will refer to page 15 for budget transfers, I'll review those with you. We had 6 that exceeded $50,000. There was a transfer of funds necessary for the preschool program's move from Easton to Fairlawn. That was $324,981. We transferred savings in last summer's summer school program to Office of Principal in order to refresh staff technology, an amount of $396,474. There was a transfer of the savings in last summer's programs to technology for contracted services to maintain Chromebooks, and the amount should say $195,000 rather than the $60,000. Number 4, there was a correction to restore the budget for purchase orders that rolled over from fiscal 21 last year of $237,904. This was necessary in order to make sure we could pay for the purchase orders that were mistakenly voided. The 5th one was a transfer for textbooks. The total was $2,779,171. Most of that came from another textbook account, so it was a shift between two of the same accounts. However, $532,312 was transferred from stipends and benefits. And finally, there was a transfer of savings in employee benefits to the Student Services Department in order to convert school records to a digital format, and also to destroy the paper versions. Lastly, it's not really, this is related to the fiscal 23 budget. Last week, as many of you know, City Council appropriated funds for fiscal 23 school budget. We will advise you on recommended amendments once the state budget is completed, and we're not sure. We're hopeful that'll be soon. Dr. Martin, that concludes my comments. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
I'll yield to Ms. Basine.
Ms. Basine. Oh, Ms. Basine, go ahead first.
Thank you, Dr. Martin, and thank you, Mr. Jordan. So most of my questions are related to page with the budget transfers. But first, actually, let me go through my list here. So where are we today with the unspent funds? Do you have an amount?
We're pretty much in the same place that I advised you last month. We do have vacancy savings. Much of that was spent on the bonus that was provided last month. We do have a revenue reduction because we have fewer students. State pays us based on number of students. So, but we're in positive territory. It's not a huge amount, but we're in positive territory.
Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, just for a moment. Can I ask if Mr. Jenkins can speak in the microphone so I can hear him better, please?
Beg your pardon?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you need to move the
Free
lectern
space.
up at all? Would that help?
Probably do. Sorry about that. We had a plug that was.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Ms. Basine.
May I continue? Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And so I see the budget transfer for the funds for moving Easton to Fairlawn. Now, what is the total cost of that move?
The estimate at this point is the amount that we transferred. Well, I should back up from that. We've transferred the $325,000.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few smaller items that weren't included in the totals because we didn't have prices for them,
Okay.
but they are much smaller than that. I mean, it's probably $20,000 or $30,000 maybe, but this covers practically everything.
But that's the bulk?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. And then, the budget transfer 563 for increasing, so we're increasing athletics from the classroom instruction. Is there specific needs that weren't already met through the operating budget that we are increasing that versus?
Yes, let me explain that entry to you.
Okay.
This is not a budget transfer in the purest of senses. It is a entry that we had to make in order to restore the budget that that sort of disappeared. when some purchase orders were mistakenly canceled. This is all very convoluted, and I hate to get you into, drag you through the mud. But anyway, at the end of the year, we had purchase orders outstanding from last year that rolled into the new year. When that happens, the budget increases by the amount of the orders that rolled over. Someone mistakenly canceled some orders. The goods came in and the vendor wants their money. When the orders canceled, the budget entry that caused the budget to climb for the value of the orders was reversed so that it went down. So this entry just simply corrected the mistake that occurred. So it's not a budget transfer in the purest sense. It escaped my attention, otherwise it wouldn't be on here. But it was an entry that happened in order to fix a mistake that had occurred.
Okay, so more like a correction.
Right,
okay.
so it just puts us back to where we were before the purchase orders were mistakenly canceled.
Okay. Okay, because I didn't understand, so I
Yeah, I
appreciate the
understand.
clarification.
Thank you.
And then for item 1536, could you also elaborate on that? I'm not sure, what is DOMA?
Okay, yeah, that is kind of, I'm not sure what the acronym is, but this is for a contract to a vendor to digitize student records. So they will convert the records to a digital format that'll be accessible to our folks. It covers, I assume, things like transcripts and any number of other things, and also to destroy the paper records. Our high schools especially get cram-packed with records as new students come in, and the graduates are still there. So that's what that is. And this is something we do many years. We try to do it every year.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
I said thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, thank you, and some of my questions are on the same point of budget transfers, because I still have some questions, trying to understand what some of the answers that you just gave to Ms. Basine. So, the replacing, first of all, can you remind the board why budget transfers over $50,000 are on the report and come as part of the approval of the financial statement, the financial
I don't know
report?
that I can point to anything in either policy, but that has been our practice. I don't know how long it's been the practice, but at least for the last 2 years, we have provided you with a report of budget transfers that exceed 50,000. Don't know where the 50,000 was established, but I think the purpose is so that we don't inundate you with a lot of minutia. There's a lot of, we have budget transfers. I mean, I can get dozens of them in a day. So I think 50,000 was the threshold that was set. I'm sure that I would imagine that the board was involved in that threshold.
Yeah, it might be good for us as a board to just revisit what we're doing and why we're doing it. But I appreciate the fact that we are doing it. So just for further clarification, so in the instance of the replacing computer equipment for principals, assistant principals, and office staff, so we, in essence, by doing the budget transfer or doing the transfer from summer school to technology and equipment, does that mean that we underestimated what the technology equipment needs were? Does it mean that something arose that required the additional $400,000? What is it that is driving that transfer?
I believe that was one of the requests for funding for fiscal '23, and we decided that we would fund it with vacancy, with money that was remaining in the fiscal '22 budget in order, as we were balancing fiscal '23. There were a number of items, large ticket items, that were requested for funding in fiscal '23, and we put those aside because there would be enough money in the '22 budget from things like vacancy savings in order to address them. That was one of them.
So then, on the part-time teachers then for the summer.
These were savings from last summer.
Right, so in essence, there are part-time teachers that we budgeted for the summer that I guess we did not use or need, and that's what resulted in the funds that are available in that
Right.
category.
And I'd say that a lot of the teachers were paid out of the coronavirus funds last summer, which is another reason. I mean, we had a big summer school program last year as we were planning on this year, but much of it was covered through the coronavirus funds.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because for me, I think that would be helpful to understand that if as a result of, I'm just going to use my terminology, pandemic funds.
Right.
If we were using pandemic funds that then freed up funds from our regular operating budget.
And in this case, that's much
I just
of the
think
reason.
if it's an asterisk or something that would help us understand that because we were able to receive the influx of other funds, that's what resulted in what we have here, not necessarily the fact that we just had vacant positions or whatever other reasons may have been.
Thank you. I understand.
The next one, dealing with repairing student Chromebooks. So I think you said that the report shows $60,000, but you said the amount was actually $195,000?
That is correct, yes, sir.
So can you speak a little bit more about the repairing of the Chromebooks? I mean, how many are we talking about, and how is this normally done?
This, I mean, as you know, we've purchased a lot of Chromebooks and distributed a whole lot out to students. Things like screens get broken, batteries, the plugs, all kinds of stuff. So we're having to recondition some of the Chromebooks. So this amount is needed in order to fix so that they can be usable. When a student damages a Chromebook or a device, they're returned, and the student is issued another one. So this allows us to fix the one that was broken or damaged so that it can be used again.
And so the $195,000, that's also from the summer school
Right.
category?
I'm not sure if that was included in the request for funding of next year, but it was something that has come to our attention in the last half of this year.
When we were having discussions about buying all the Chromebooks and so forth, I asked some question then about whether or not there was any type of replacement insurance or damage insurance that would accompany the Chromebooks. Do we have anything like that, or if something is damaged, it just falls on the school division to replace it outright through this type of approach?
I mean, we've been buying new ones is what we've been buying, so, I mean, it's what we've been doing, but this would allow us to fix some of the ones that can be serviced.
Do you have any idea how many Chromebooks we've had to replace in the past year?
I don't have that, no, sir.
Okay, well, I'd like to see if we can get a handle on that moving forward. On the next one, dealing again with the athletics and the classroom instruction. Can you just explain that again? Because I'm not quite following the connection between.
Yeah, this is not a transfer. It is a budget entry was made in order to reestablish purchase orders that were mistakenly canceled. And we've sort of addressed why that happened and tried to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. But when we cancel a purchase order that originates in another year, our financial system backs out the budget entry that was created to offset that PO. Well, we still had to pay the PO, but the person should not have canceled the order, but it happened. People make mistakes, and that's what happened. I think a new person was involved here. So we had to go in and manually adjust the athletic account to increase the budget for athletics in order to restore the money that disappeared when the purchase orders were canceled.
Right, but the purchase orders were dealing with athletics.
Yes, sir. They were valid purchase orders that were issued in the previous year, and they didn't get fulfilled. The vendor didn't fill the orders until sometime in this current year.
Right.
So they rolled over along with the money to pay for them. So this is kind of some backrooms accounting stuff just to make sure the books balance. And that's what happened here.
Right.
It's hard to explain.
Okay.
Well, it's very convoluted. And I
if you could
apologize.
possibly explain to me the connection between the use of the classroom instruction contract services account as the source for whatever it is that you had to do.
We had identified some costs that had not been let out, that weren't needed to be used for the current years. So we simply took those funds and made the athletic department's budget whole.
Do you recall what in the classroom instruction category we were?
No, sir. I mean, it would have been in an account that wasn't allocated to a department. So it was really a contingency fund.
Yeah,
that was hidden in the contract services.
Yeah, I know. I think I feel pretty confident saying that all board members kind of pay attention to the classroom, and so when you see something like that that's occurring, in theory, something is not being done that we thought was going to be done, and I'm just trying to get a feel for what that is.
I would say to you that it wasn't an account that was allocated to any department. I think it was there for just in case. That's the only thing I can tell you at this. I can't tell you any more than that at this point.
Do you have an idea of?
It was not in a department.
How big the just in case account might be?
It's getting really small now because you can see I've been pulling stuff. We've been pulling stuff out.
Now, that's the humor I heard from you on St. Paul's Boulevard. Appreciate that. And then on the next one again, so the one with the textbooks.
Yes, sir.
So nearly $3 million. And so textbooks from.
Yes, yeah, it looks like nearly $3 million, but notice that one of the accounts it was pulled from is a textbook account. So it's pulling from one textbook account to another. So,
well, that's what I'm trying to understand.
So it's really only the $518,000 and the $14,000 that are really reclassified there.
Now I'm more confused. So what does textbooks new adoption, what was that for?
Those are for the new adoption. And it was transferred to textbooks for music and reading, which is in a different object code. So,
right, but the new adoption of what?
Pardon me, for the adoption of music and reading textbooks.
So the new adoption was
the
for
new adoption that you just approved
was for
earlier.
music and reading.
It's this one.
Okay, and
right.
then
so $2.2 million of that was budgeted, and we needed another $500,000 or so in order to complete the purchases. They were a little more expensive than we had thought.
Thank you. I understand that much better. And then lastly, under students' attendance and health, what is it that we're doing there? What are the contract services that we are taking care of?
This was to digitize student records.
Oh, that is the DOMA. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I did
the high
hear
schools get really packed and they don't have any room to move around, so we dumped the old files and digitize them.
And then, not on the report, but then you also mentioned that the council had passed its budget and that your plan was to wait until the state acted before you brought recommendations back.
We thought it might be less painful if we did it all at one time and rather than drag you through it twice. But yes, the city council approved the budget. They did make an upward adjustment based on revenue sharing. And so there will be a few adjustments that we recommend, but we really need to know what the state has done or will do.
Yeah.
It all to you at once.
Yeah, I would just ask, I know we've talked about it some already as a board, that the sooner we can have a discussion around our budget, the better, because we didn't have a lot of discussion prior to. And so I would ask that the board consider not having the administration wait, that we get an idea of what the council has done, what the local impact is, and we can always make adjustments as necessary based upon what the state does, at least from a knowledge standpoint. It concerns me that I think we tend to put a lot of stuff in one meeting, and it just doesn't provide, I think, from the board's perspective, a good opportunity to really understand the impact. So from the agenda planning side, I hope you all will take a look at that. So thank you. Those are my questions.
Any other questions?
Yes, Dr. Martin. So, real quick, so about the Chromebooks. So, when students return their Chromebooks at the end of this year, when you talk about, the number of replacements that have had to occur, it's my understanding that there will be a fee potentially charged for the Chromebook or missing chargers. Is that correct?
Well, we do try to collect. We have an abysmal collection rate.
I'm sorry?
We collect practically nothing.
Okay.
I mean, we do bill
they're-
them, but let's just say, I guess we are not an aggressive enough creditor.
Okay.
Our collection rate is really bad.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that I would imagine a lot of the folks that we'd be trying to collect from have really difficulty coming up with $180 or whatever it is.
Okay. So I just wanted to understand if that is what we are.
We do actually bill. After the bill is ignored for a certain amount of time, we stop.
Okay. Okay.
We haven't
All right.
really tried to go, we haven't looked into other avenues. There are other avenues that we could probably work with the city treasurer to try to collect some from people who can pay.
Yeah.
But we've not done that yet.
Right. And I'm not interested in that. I was just trying to understand, because I know as a parent, we've been getting like those notices that, so I got to make sure everybody knows where their Chromebook chargers are.
They're not inexpensive, but
Okay.
things happen.
All right. Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you.
All right, any more? All right, can I get a motion to adopt the monthly financial report?
I move that we adopt the monthly financial report as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Gabriel. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Campson.
Just, Madam Chair, just one comment to the motion, since we did get a correction by Mr. Jenkins, if we can just acknowledge the.
As amended.
As amended, as corrected, yes.
Thank you for the reminder. Go ahead, Ms. Tanner.
Basine?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Rousen?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Thank you, everyone. We did have the personnel report pulled from the consent agenda, so can I get a motion to accept the personnel report?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the personnel report.
Thank you, Mr. Clanton. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Dr. Rousen. Any discussion? Okay, go ahead, Ms.
Go ahead.
No,
This
you
time
good.
I'll defer to you, Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, I do.
Take turns. Go, Mr.
Yes.
Jordan.
Just point of clarity, so in the email exchange that was going back and forth over the last day or so, I just want to get some clarity around this teacher salary scale. So on this personnel docket that we have before us, the teacher new hire that is on the docket, is that new hire taking place against the 30-step scale, or is it taking place against a 22-step scale?
Can we ask Mr. Billups to approach the
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
lectern? Thank you.
Good afternoon, evening again, everyone.
Mr. Billups.
The new hire that you see, that's on the 30-step scale. So that individual is being placed appropriately on the correct step on that scale of the operation scale document since July 1, 2021 to current.
Okay, so so it is the 30-step scale.
Yes, that's the scale.
And then I guess the 22-step scale, that just applies to, that hasn't applied to any of the personnel dockets that we voted on since July 1?
No, what that says is that it's a 30-step scale, but for 21, 22, what we're talking about is the operation of the teacher salary scale. What that document actually is the document that is used to place anyone who is hired this year appropriately on the correct step based upon their number of years of experience, recognizing that years of experience, though, don't equate to step in Norfolk Public Schools. This is an operation document used within the Department of Human Resources to place the individual as they join the organization. So a new operation of the teacher salary scale will become effective for July 1, 2022 for employees, teachers that are brought in for the upcoming school year.
So can you just walk me through the scenario then? So we have an employee on this current docket.
Mm-hmm.
That person is, we vote on the docket tonight, that person is officially hired, they have a particular start date.
Yes.
How does the 22-step piece align with the 30-step piece that you were just explaining to me, that the person would be hired against the 30-step scale?
Well, what's going to happen is, and again, I'm not exactly sure what the salary is of the person that you're looking at right now, but just say, for example, after we decide, or in consultation with interviewing them and looking at trying to hire them, it's determined that that person has 10 years of teaching experience that can be verified. Once we verify those 10 years of teaching experience for Norfolk Public Schools, that individual would then be placed on a step 8, because what we're saying is that 10 years on this particular scale equates to step 8 for Norfolk Public Schools, which is the correct step on this scale, because as we've stated, Norfolk Public Schools has not been in an operation in which we have granted step placement year for year. There's no evidence that we have been able to see and look at in our documentation that gives that indication. So that's what happens here. Now, basically, to not further add to additional compression and all that had happened, when this scale was designed, no new employee coming to us would be placed on a step higher than 22 to start. However, say someone came to us and we could verify that they actually had 23 or 24 years of experience this year, they would be placed on step 18. But if a person came to us, and this is unlikely highly, but say someone came to us and they could verify that they had 32 years of experience or something like that, but they still wanted to keep working and they came to us, we would still place them on step 22. What then happens is, if you continue to work with us, then you will get an increase each year, but your step is not going to move based upon the scale that we're using here. And that was designed that way to not further add to more compression of allowing someone to come in with a lot of years of experience, but then to have a salary higher than those who had been here.
So then the point, so on today's docket, the point at which the verification takes place, does that take place after we approve the hire, or does that take place as part of the recommendation that's coming forward to us?
It takes place as it takes place in a couple of different ways, because whatever we can verify when we put them on the docket, that's where we're going to place them with their salary, with the understanding that if there are more verifications that come in, we will then adjust their salary upward. Hence why you may sometimes see a person on the docket 1 month at one salary, but maybe between that day and a month or so later, we've gotten some more verifications in from, say, other school divisions and other states, because again, we don't want to hold the person up from not starting, but at the same time, if we don't have the verification from their other school divisions, then we're not going to put them on that scale and then take money back. We're going to wait until we get it, then we'll adjust that employee upward. So that's why you may see sometimes those kinds of adjustments as well. That's why we let the employee know it's verifiable teaching experience, because sometimes people will tell us one thing and we never get the document to verify it. And sometimes the document to verify it may not even come in until 4 or 5 months later, because again, maybe it's coming from a school, states and states away, or another organization doesn't prioritize getting that information in. Sometimes we have to go back to the employee and say, you may want to contact your former school division because we've been waiting for 3 months and we don't have it. Sometimes, and then that happens, and so it's a consultation because the employee, the teacher, will also call us, and then we put that onus back on them to get the document to us. But once they get it to us, then we place it appropriately.
And this is for all employees, or is it just for teachers?
Yeah, we have operation scales for teachers, administrators, classified staff, for all employees. That's why it's important when we're speaking with our employees that a conversation that we have with them is, if we're going to talk about the operation scale, we need to talk about the operation scale for the year in which you were hired, not the operation scale in which an employee who was hired right now we're looking at, because it's going to be different. If you were hired with us in 2012, then we have a scale that will reflect the 2012, 2013, whatever the year was, of how it was operating in Norfolk Public Schools at that time. This current one is where it is right now, and then contingent upon what happens with raises and all of that, it will adjust again, because we're trying to make sure that we're not further compressing individuals, and so therefore that's why we're moving the scale as each year goes on.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Ms.
Yes.
Basine.
So since we started with that piece, I too had questions about, what we've been seeing in the exchanges, around the pay scale. So based on what the explanations that you've just given, so when is the 30-step scale used for A? Because you just mentioned that is used in one instance, and then
Well, what happens is, again, the only way, it's not a 30-step scale that we would use, because again, it's when an individual, this operation document, that's what we need to make sure we're understanding. This document is used when an employee first joins Norfolk Public Schools, so that we can appropriately place them on what the correct step is for Norfolk Public Schools and how Norfolk Public Schools has operated. Once they are then placed appropriately on the scale, we don't look at this document again for them, because they're now an employee. We've placed them, they've accepted the position, now they're gonna move along in the way that any other employee in Norfolk Public Schools would move if we're given raises and those types of things. So as I said, a brand new person coming to us is not going to be placed on any step higher than 22. However, once they get here and they remain here, then they will move along like anyone else would.
Okay, yeah. So I was just going to say, so a teacher who has no experience, for instance, they come in, they're placed on step 1, they would be moving through the 30-step scale.
They will be moving through the scale, yes,
Right.
once they're here,
Okay.
yes. And based on, and the example is, if the person is joining us anytime between July 1 of last year and now, and they have 0 years of experience, say they just graduated from college in December, we hired them in January, they're going to be placed on step 1. as would a person who came to us with 1 year of verifiable experience. Notice what it says right there. They too would be placed on step 1, because in this operation document, 0 to 1 years of experience places you on step 1 in Norfolk Public Schools, which is your correct step in Norfolk Public Schools, because Norfolk Public Schools has never been on a 1-to-1 schedule.
I'm going to interrupt real quick because we're going to go into the full presentation and explanation of the PanComp study at one of our upcoming meetings. So I don't want to belabor this topic. I know it's very important and we do have a lot of questions. We can go on and on about it. But I do want to remind you all that we are going to be talking about this soon.
Right. Well, I understand that, but I think it's important since salary is a part of the personnel docket that we also understand, especially as these questions have come up around the scale. So
just one personnel docket of 12. So, you know, we need to.
Right, but I asked for the
You don't need to spend all night here talking about this topic that we're going to have more in-depth conversation about soon.
Well, I just asked because I wanted to be clear what I was voting on. And I know we've talked about the steps and the scales, and I have no idea when we're going to talk about it. Yeah. But going back to the budget presentation that we just received, that the intent, at least my intent, to try to get clarity around this when we were dealing with the proposed budget was so we wouldn't wait. And so I don't know when we're going to have that presentation, but it's still my hope that we will have that presentation and have a clear understanding prior to the adoption of the school board's final budget.
Then perhaps you could do a 2x2 with the superintendent?
I have requested 2x2 for 2 months and have not been able to receive one. So thank you for reminding me. I will be following up again next week.
That would be good because not all of us feel the need to have that explained to us separately, and it's a long time taken up on the side.
Madam Chair.
To be clear, Mr. Jordan, if I may respectfully, you know why I haven't responded, because I don't schedule meetings for board members. You asked for a 2x2 with me and a board member, correct? I've always responded to your request for 2x2s, but when it involves a board member, there has to be an agreement that they will meet. So I just wanted to be clear.
Well, appreciate
I'm
you.
not avoiding
Oh, no, you're
2x2.
You're good. My next request is just going to be for me so that I don't have to wait. So thank you.
Just as a point of clarity, I know that we have before us, we have the PanComp study that's going on. Have we gotten any closer into when we can anticipate a presentation before this board so that we can have this conversation?
Mr. Clinton, respectfully, I believe it was Ms. Basine who asked the question via email, and I responded that the administration would be prepared during the June work session.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're going to have a conversation, a open conversation with the board where we can ask details and get into this particular matter at the work session on June 1st. Okay, so with that, Madam Chair, I call the question.
Ms. Tanner?
Basine?
Yay.
Hampson?
Yay.
Clanton?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Aye.
Jordan?
Nay.
Ralston?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye. Okay, thank you. All right, up next we have the supplemental pay policy that was pulled from the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to accept policy number, or policy letter GCBB on supplemental pay?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt policy GCBB supplementary pay.
Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Dr. Ralston. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Thank you. Yeah, I just asked, I just wanted to be clear on if we can have Dr. Pohl or someone just remind us again what it is that we are accomplishing with this policy, with the changes that we have for the policy.
So the changes for the policy, and Mr. Billups may need to clarify more so if I don't do a good enough job, Mr. Jordan. But the addition to it is just making sure that our employees know that the supplementary pay contracts are separate from their regular contracts. So if an employee is released from their supplementary contract, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're released from their full-time contract.
So in this policy, we're using a Z, which typically indicates that we're doing something special for Norfolk. When I look at policy GCB, I thought I saw some similar language. It has the same, at the end of GCB, which is professional staff contracts, it has the paragraph, for the purposes of this policy, extracurricular activity sponsorship, on and on. And so I went back and looked at it because, frankly, the emails that are going back and forth about the steps caused me to go back and look at this one, and then also as we were having conversations about how stipends and things like that are done. So in this proposed policy, the GCBBZ, and it takes out cheerleading squads, and then I think in our existing policy in GCB, it still has it. And then where it says termination of a separate contract for any athletic coaching, what is it in our policy, supplementary pay policy, that is unique to Norfolk Public Schools that's bringing the Z?
So what's unique is the line around the termination is different than the VSBA recommended policy, as well as the line, I believe, that says this contract shall be separate and apart from the employee's regular full-time contract.
So what is it that we're trying to accomplish here?
So I'd like to ask Mr. Billups to go further into that, please.
The purpose for the additional language is, if you look at the current policy, it says that this contract shall be separate and apart from the contract for teaching. However, we have employees who are not teachers who participate in these other activities, such as coaching, sponsorships, and those things. So we expanded it to read, the contract shall be separate and apart from the employee's regular full-time contract. So therefore, any full-time contracted individual who could be a teacher, but also could be a security officer or a custodian or a bus driver, and they are also eligible for these supplemental pays. So it clarifies that to make that point, and so that's why that was added there. And then the cheerleading squads was just taken off because, frankly, after we looked at that, that's kind of a dated term, cheerleading squad, and so cheerleading is seen as a sports type of activity, so we wanted to be inclusive and not separate out cheerleading squad. That was old, antiquated language, we felt.
Yeah, no, I only asked the cheerleading squad piece because we have another policy, GCB, that says professional staff contracts, and that policy still has that same language, and it also has in there, termination of the separate contract does not constitute cause for the termination of the primary contract. So I'm trying to figure out, do we have two policies that are duplicative or are maybe contradicting each other? That's really what I was trying to get at. There's one that says professional staff contracts that has some of the same language as we have in the supplementary pay. And I really just wanted you all to maybe look at it to make sure that whatever it is that you're trying to get us to accomplish, that do two policies need to be updated, or do we need to merge two policies into one? But they had some common language, and I just wasn't clear on what it was that you were trying to do, and trying to make sure that we didn't update one policy with what you were trying to achieve and have another policy out there that may be contradicting what you were trying to achieve.
So I don't know, we may look at that one or retire that or something, I'm not quite sure.
So, Mr. Jordan, we can kick this back to policy review and be able to look at both these policies side by side. I noticed that GCB had an update of 2018. I believe GCB, the policy that we're having, that we brought forward, has a 2013 date, so it's much further out of date. So the GCB hasn't gone through the 5-year rotation yet at this point, so that's probably why that language hasn't changed. The cheerleading squads, that was a change that brought it up to date with the VSBA recommendations, because they took that out. But we will take this back to Policy Review Committee, and we'll look at both those policies side by side to make sure that we're not duplicative or contradicting in policies.
Well, you have is the board okay with that?
So, yeah, I just wanted to say if there's no objection, Madam Chair.
I was going to just say, if no objection, we're going to put this back to policy. Is there any objection? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good catch. Great.
May I ask a clarifying question with regards to the policies?
Sure.
So when we approve the policies, whether that be on the consent agenda or let's, for example, say we were to take a vote on this policy, when we go onto board docs or when a member of the public goes onto board docs and they search for a policy, it should be reflective of the date that we updated the policy.
Correct.
Okay.
It's listed on the bottom.
Right. It's on the top and on the bottom.
Okay.
Okay. But it's, okay.
All right. Okay. Up next, we have item 5.04. And that is the meeting dates, the governance retreats and work sessions. This is, definitely normally something we'd be talking about at a work session, but I was trying to move forward on this as quickly as possible because I know that there's been a lot of questions about the meeting dates moving forward. So, so as far as just regular meeting dates, I was under the assumption we would continue for first and third Wednesdays. Was there any discussion about changing that?
Well, Dr.
Go ahead.
Martin, so it was not just about, well, my questions were, at least, were not just about meeting dates, but also about what items we would be discussing. And just that, this is also the reason why the superintendent evaluation timeline, I think, was important, because the proposed timeline that is posted has, several meeting dates. So I'm having a hard time thinking without a full understanding of what we're doing at each of our meetings, what we hope to accomplish in the upcoming weeks.
I recall your email saying that you needed to plan out your summer, which is reasonable.
Well, it's not just planning out my summer. I need to know what the dates are and because we get to a point where, like right now, we're not going to have this discussion today. So June 1st, we're going to have a discussion, and then June 8th, are we going to decide at that point that we're meeting June 8th? I mean, I think we all have schedules that we need to plan around. So I'm just trying to get us to, whether it's, work, family schedules, we all have schedules. And what we've done and what I've been blindsided by the last couple of years is August. I expect to have a first and third Wednesday meeting, and then it's been, booted to a work session, business meeting hybrid, and, the schedules change. I'm just trying to get an idea of what the dates are, what we're doing on those dates, like what are we monitoring, so that we're all on the same page and the administration can be prepared, we can be prepared. And like right now, we have 3 major topics for June 1st, and now we've added, discussion of the superintendent's evaluation timeline, which is now a 4th topic. So I want to know, dates, times of our meetings, when's our retreat, because there's so many important and pressing topics that we need to discuss. And,
right.
And I have clearly shared that not only in email, but also in conversations, particularly as it pertains to, since I didn't get to say this earlier, teacher retention and recruitment, and transportation, and all of the very critical components that go into planning for the upcoming school year, given the challenges that we've experienced this year. So,
Well, I can't offer you any of the topics. We have some potential topics, but the agenda planning meeting hasn't happened yet.
I know, but that's, I guess, I don't want to get into that, but that's been the frustrating piece, is that
you make requests, I track them, and then you expect me to give you information before we've had our meeting.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
It's been asked.
What she's asking is that we would like what we used to get, which was a calendar that tells us exactly which days we'll be doing this from month to month. I mean, she's read it a number of times in emails, and so to me, it was pretty clear, and that's what I would like too. It's hard to suddenly think, oh, okay, all of a sudden there's a 6-hour training session next week.
Yeah.
So what we'd like, I think is what we're saying, is that we'd like to have that schedule laid out. That's not saying that you have to wait till the agenda planning every other week.
We went over that the very first agenda planning meeting, and it's on board docs.
If I may, and I appreciate my colleagues on that, just to kind of put in context and remind, we do have the strategic plan that's coming in. We're kind of phasing out. The board will have the conversation in June, and we really need to start looking at whatever that document is there and wrapping ourselves around that will determine for us what will be goals. That will also determine what we will, as a board, at a board level, for monitoring and beginning to build that calendar out like we're used to. We've got a transition. We're coming out of that other one. We did look at the old calendar, which kind of has these are the type of reports and things like that need to happen. But we'll have time for that. I understand the frustration of, kind of seeming like we're not going to have all those things there, but we really need to look at, we have the strategic plan coming, and that's going to really be what's going to guide us for the next 5 years or so there.
And I'm sorry, the accountability plan has been guiding us up this far. So.
Exactly. But I'd also like to say that based on what we have on the agenda, I guess we're talking about what the retreat date may potentially be.
The 6th and 7th.
The 6th and the 7th of July. I don't have a problem with us maintaining a Wednesday. So the 1st and 3rd work session still maintaining on the first Wednesday, and the business meeting on the 3rd. But I hear my colleague in that one, but I think that we're working towards that. No one's trying to ignore that. It's just there's a lot of things. And, we've asked for grace for a lot of different other folks on things. And when we looked at the hybrid piece, and I just want to address that one, the board, we took a vote on that to move into a hybrid piece down there for that one particular meeting, because we want it to be respectful of all of you wonderful individuals who sit in here with us all year long. Council takes an entire break. The school board does not. We meet every month, and we appreciate you all being here and those who come in. And we wanted to try to, we condense and at least give some sense of a break to staff. In the month of August. We then moved into a virtual environment. And so that's how that happened. We continued with that. So I don't think that we're not trying to do that, and I'm not trying to dismiss anybody on any of those things there. I just, let's just continue to work together. I think we're going to get there, and we can spend some time to build out what that looks like. Definitely, and at the retreat, let's really make that a goal for us as a board to get that whole calendar together and that we can work towards it.
Right. Well, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Clanton, but I want to say I want us to get away from comparing ourselves to city council. We are a school system, and anyone who knows August is no break for anybody. Not for us, especially not for those, our administrators. So I disagree, and I disagreed, in previous conversations around that. But still, if you can't provide the dates, we're going to be in that situation again where there's going to be a lack of availability of board members, and we're just spinning our wheels. I'm very concerned about our board's organization around planning for meetings, planning for training, planning, just so that we're doing what we need to do for children once school, for the end of the school year, and as school begins for the 2022-23 school year. So.
Well, I'm sorry, this is counter to what I heard before, is that you wanted to be involved in the dates, but now.
No, I do want to be involved
Okay.
in the dates, but I want to know what those dates are.
Do you want me to predetermine the dates?
I want us to have, okay.
Sit
so
down and have a
Have a
meeting and
discussion about that so that we know, we need to know what it is we're going to achieve in our meetings. It's not just about dates. It's about what are we hoping to achieve. Like right now, if we were to walk out tonight, for instance, I'm just going to use this as an example. If we're just saying first and third Wednesday, we're going to walk out of here just knowing that that's the commitment. But then June 1st, we're going to come back and potentially have a schedule that includes training, that includes, meetings around, the superintendent's evaluation. And then you're going to be, meaning we are going to be in a position where all 8 of us may not be available. So I'm just trying to, and we know we've had that, experience already, that is a very difficult task, but.
I want to express this because when we go through all of the agenda items, some of the potential, the list of the requests, we also have to match them to dates for which that report can be prepared. So it's not just map out all of the reports that we want and put dates on them. So we work really hard to make sure that we are covering all of this. That is why I put it on the agenda, because we were operating according to our norms, and we were meeting before the meetings and planning them out as far ahead as we could. But that wasn't enough, and so now I put this on here, and now you want the date, the agenda items on the meeting dates mapped out for the rest of the month, and I told you we don't have that now, even before this meeting. But it's lose-lose for me. So what I would like to understand, a couple things to leave here with, at least something. As far as governance training goes, do we want to have those on the same days as our meetings, or which would be once a month, so we could pick either have it on the day of our work session or business meeting, or any day in between. So I'd like to get a sense of how you all feel at least about our governance training dates.
Well, if I understood the contract correctly, it says a minimum of 6 hours, right? Correct?
Okay.
Right? So that makes, that makes for an incredibly long,
Not do it on the business meeting day.
well, yeah, definitely. But so, I'm not in support of doing it on the same day as our board meetings.
Okay, so then we'll need to have.
And I
special
agree, at
meetings.
least definitely not on the business meeting date, is what Ms. Campson just.
Started 6 hours earlier today.
Anyone else have a comment about which date to have our governance training? Should we have it on the work session day, or should we have it on week 2 or 4?
What was that, on the what?
On weeks 2 or 4, our non-meeting day weeks.
I just have to take a step back for a second, because I hear a lot of very valid concern from everyone here on the team. And I think what we have to think of is, what is the end goal that we have? The end goal is that we do have a very clear calendar that can be potentially set out for the entire year, with reports, with an understanding of meetings that we know are going to happen regardless, hearings, whatnot. That's a long-term goal. For our short-term goals, what I believe I hear Ms. Basine saying is, we really need to have an idea of what's going on for June, July, and August, because it's critical for our organization, and there are plans that have already been made. And it sounds like you guys in agenda planning have already mapped out a very full impact June work session. We have strategic planning. Dr. Birdsong mentioned the pay and comp study. We have a discussion about the timeline for the superintendent's eval, and I'm sure there's going to be some budget discussion. So that's a jam-packed work session.
And Lindenwood.
And Lyndon, right.
How are you sneaking that in there?
I'm not sneaking it.
Mr. Jordan.
It's been pushed out.
Okay,
We
so.
still have to meet, we still haven't solidified everything because we haven't had our agenda planning meeting yet.
Honestly, there's really nothing further to solidify for the June work session. Put policy in there too, because that's normal what we do in work
that's
sessions.
correct.
And,
gonna be a
and that's
long
your,
work
that, it's a long work session. So we know that we're obligated for the 1st and the 15th of June. The next question is for the July retreat, are there some potential dates that you will have?
The 6th and 7th.
The 6th and the 7th. And I would say that on the 6th and the 7th, I am comfortable with separating out the governance training so that we have a day of governance training and we have a day of division review of assessments, which is what I recall when we had the Panasonic Foundation and other groups. I just think it takes two different mindsets for that type of.
That's how we were planning to schedule it anyways, but I just need to hear from you all, any opposition to having it on those days.
I don't have an opposition. I will make things
I support
work.
having it on those days.
And then we do need to figure out what's going to happen for August, because right now we have August 3rd and then we have August 17th. And I think that perhaps we know that it's very busy for staff, but do we necessarily need to involve staff in our meeting? While at the same time we want to provide that break, is there something that we can do ourselves, collectively ourselves as a board? Maybe we make that as one of our governance days and not involve staff members, so that way they can have a break. So that's just putting it out there. But it sounds like July is pretty set and August and June is pretty set. It's really then figuring out what the plan is going to be for August. And that's going to be determined collectively from the board and superintendent.
Yep.
And superintendent.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
So nothing's changed then.
So 1st and 3rd, 6th and 7th, and we go from there.
6 and
And the 20th,
And the
right?
20th.
A bit, you need a,
Right.
and the 20th, right?
the 20th for a business
And
meeting.
20 for business
Yeah.
meeting.
I would just say, when you're in agenda planning, make sure that we are solid on when we need to approve new hires, because I recall in years past, we needed to make sure that we had a business, something in August, to where we needed to approve new hires. I am correct.
I mean, we've done that through the normal process. Is there a special process that I'm not remembering?
No.
1st and 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and third.
not as, whatever, if we determine that we have a hybrid meeting, we have to make sure that it includes a vote on a personnel docket.
Oh, yeah, it always has. Okay, so nothing's changed. All right, go ahead.
Just
Mr. Jordan.
two things. One, on the agenda planning side, you collectively, however, should be working so that whenever agenda planning is take place, is planning at least a month out. So the agenda planning that may be coming up in May shouldn't be planning the June meeting, it should be planning the July meeting. However you get on that cycle, it could be June or further out.
We do try to plan it as far out as we can. There's, but our norms and protocols do say a week before the agenda planning should be done a week prior to the work session.
Yeah, I don't.
But we do try, we do try to plan out as far as possible.
Yeah.
But things change.
I was just gonna make two. One was we should try to plan out as far in advance as we can.
We do.
And the second piece that I heard that is just that I have a concern about, and maybe we'll hear more about, the purpose of the strategic plan, because I thought the strategic plan was going to be about the operational strategic plan of the administration. And when I keep hearing that the strategic plan is somehow going to be guiding our board work, that is still not clear to me. So I just hope if it's June, whatever, we can get some clarity around that, because I hear mixed messages about what our expectations are of the strategic plan and how it impacts our work as a school board.
Okay. But as far as dates are I just want to I think we seem to have I have a better understanding from this conversation about our meeting dates. Go ahead, Ms. Campson.
Could we just make sure that we understand there's a difference between agenda planning and a calendar? The calendar gives us the dates and the times, and maybe this makes subjects, but it doesn't give us the agenda. And I think that's what, so we're not asking to do agendas way in advance. We're just asking to have a calendar in advance. And then every other week that you do the agenda planning, you would do it as you always do, of course. I think that that's maybe the misunderstanding that we have, that we're looking for the calendar right now, not the agenda.
I'm hearing both. I'm hearing we want topics and dates planned out.
Yeah,
It's still not
tentative
a-
topics, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I have a better understanding of the, of how to move forward. So, and then with that, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for this evening and some very good discussion.